I am Gábor Péteri, co-chair of this expert working group on Europe and Central Asia. Uh, and I welcome everybody who joined the meeting. Uh, Maybe at the beginning, I just say a few words about the Local Public Service Alliance because I think there might be new people, or we just have to remind us that the LPSA is broader than just organizing the webinars. So, as you know, this is a professional network uh, linking the practitioners, academic, around the topic of decentralization, inclusive and efficient localization of public services and public issues. Uh, we have, according to the latest reports, like 1,400 members all over the world. And I'm glad that Eastern Europe and Central Asia group is quite active. We have almost 120 members from 21 countries from our region. So it shows the importance of the decentralization in this region. As I said, we do more than just knowledge sharing through webinars and other channels. We try to do knowledge development and generation of new specific knowledge through the different publications and methods and methodologies. But also it's important, as I said, to reach out to the wider audience, again, practitioners, government officials, and the academic circles as well. So it's quite broad, quite open. The style and the activities very much depend on you, actually, who are the members. So that's why I am glad that this time we will have a webinar which is, opens a new direction for our series of webinars. It in itself, civic participation and inclusion is a very broad topic. So that's why we just start discussing some selected issues with the leadership, with the facilitation of Tengiz Sultanishvili from Georgia. And I am also glad to introduce him to the wider group as a new co-chair of the expert group on in the ECA region, because after a year he joined us representing and connecting us better to a new region, Caucasus region. So this is why I'm glad to have here with his specific knowledge on civic engagement, because he worked with USA projects on this in Georgia, and also as Tango is involved in academic work at the Tbilisi University. So with this, I will stop. And I transfer to Tango, who will facilitate the whole webinar, which is planned roughly for 90 minutes. Thank you.
Um, Thank you, Gabor, for the kind introduction. Good afternoon, good evening to everyone, and a warm welcome to the session of the LPSA's Expert Working Group on Europe and Central Asia. It's a pleasure to see so many of you interested in discussing such a critical topic for our region, the civic monitoring of the state programs and policies. I would say that across Europe and Central Asia, the call for transparency, accountability, and the effective use of public resources has never been louder. And the civic monitoring of the state programs can play a huge role in strengthening our democracies. And I believe that active civic monitoring plays a huge role in ensuring that state programs are reflecting and achieving their goals. The public resources are allocated wisely, and the governments plan policies that prioritize the needs of people they serve. To discuss these issues further, today we have quite distinguished guests who bring their wealthy practical and theoretical knowledge to today's session. So first, we will hear from Rabil Ismail, co-founder and board member of the Salam platform, and he will present on participatory monitoring of the State Rural Support Program in Georgia. Next, we will have Francesco Porcelli, an associate professor of economics from the University of Rome La Sapienza, who will discuss driving transparency and civic engagement, the open Civitas model from Italy. And finally, our third speaker will be Cherkin Berisha, an assistant professor at the University of Pristina's Faculty of Law, who will present the impact of civil society in enhancing policymaking in Kosovo. Also, following the each presentation, our discussions will be facilitated, and Q&A sessions also will be led by Fisnik Shabani. Fisnik is a project specialist and local governance coordinator from North Macedonia, who will help us connect themes from the presentations. So now I would like to invite our first speaker, Rabil, to begin. So Rabil, floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say that it's one of my first international conference where I'm participating in trying to share our knowledge and practical experience. Thank you for this opportunity. I will start with my small presentation about the monitoring of state rural program. Yeah, I'm represent Salam Platform. Is its organization? I'm one of the co-founders of this organization. This organization was founded by ethnic minority youth from Kwemakatli and Shida Katli in Georgia, general ethnic Azerbaijani community members. Our main goal and plan to create some civic space where everything will be equal and accessible for everyone in Georgia. And we have done more than 50 projects in different villages, in different topics for citizen participation in the local governance, for monitoring, budgeting, and generally we try to increase accessibility on educational resources and opportunities. Also, we work with the climate actions, trying to defend the environmental projects in our region. And one of the main the directions it's to train the people who is vulnerable in the village, like women's youth and people with disabilities. Also monitoring and budget in the local municipalities and trying to input in equality policy in the political agenda of local governances in Kwemakatli region from Bolnisi, Dmanisi, Marneoli, and Gardabani. In our projects in the last 5 years, participation was more than 400 people from local citizens, and in our petitions, signatures on the initiative was signatures more than 35,000 local citizens. It was first time when ethnic minority people from community started to make some kind of initiative for local governance, for central governance to make some kind of influence and change in their life in village. In a local level, we have a few problems about which I would like to talk before when I start talking about program state rural. So more than of 70% of ethnic minorities in this region where we work at, they didn't had applied never for their own or collective problem for local governance. So there's a huge gap between the people and local governance. There's too much infrastructural problems, accessibility on drinkable water, on roads, on lighters, on school, kindergartens, and things of this. And of course, there is no any kind of citizens participation in city assemblies when they can talk with their deputies, talk with the decision maker people about their needs, challenges, personal this. So this program is State Rural Support Program. It's a central program in Georgia. So central governance, like ministry, gives opportunity and budget for local governance to implement in a village. And this kind of tool gives us a resource, gives us a kind of agenda that every year in the start of year, the local municipality decision makers must have field visits in the village and talk with the locals about their needs and give them small budgets from 10,000 lari till 20,000 lari to solve some kind of small problem. This tool, this program generally idea that to increase the engagement of locals and to increase democratic procedures in on local level. Our monitoring procedures and projects generally was in 4 municipalities. It's Polnisit, Manisi, Gardabani, and Marneoli, in approximately in 25-30% of villages. There is 200 villages in these four municipalities, and we covered with our monitoring, field monitoring, approximately 25-30% of villages. So after the field works, every day we report on the social media how there was a meeting, village assembly, and it was very official and by facts what does our local governors on the on the village assembly and how they are making relations with the locals. Also taking real pictures. What I mean under the real pictures, for example, on the social media and a website, when we saw the local governance report, they are taking a pictures where it's 3 or 4 person and it's very closer to each other, where you can't count the number of participants. And one of the tools and mechanisms of this program is that they must have as minimum 20% of local population on the meeting. So we are taking pictures where is you can see how much person is real attending on the meeting. For example, where is living 500 person, as minimum 100 person must attend on this meeting to make as a legislative documents and approve that the decision from this village assembly was approved by the locals. But in general, we saw that there is no there is not enough attenders. And for example, when we write it a few times that there was not enough attenders, and also on the meeting on the field, we asked the members of local municipality, representative of the local municipality, so why here is not enough attenders and enough people? They started to make that the meeting is closed. We will meet again after 1 week, and they prepared to meet better with these people because they know that it's a huge mistake because the state rural programs one of the ideas of this program is to bring people on some location in the village and start to talk with them about their needs, challenges, and difficulties in the village. But when they can't attend and they can't come on the meeting, it means that the program is not implemented. The program is not attended to the goal. In our this field visits, field monitoring visits, more than 25 local youth, started to monitor their local governance. It was first time for them experience when they started to monitoring how works local governance, how they make decisions on the needs of this village. And it was good for them because after these monitoring groups and monitoring field visits, they started to talk about this in their universities, in in their lectures, and they started to write about this in some lessons, which was about finance, about budgeting, about governance and policies. So in the target village, we are trying informing people personally because before we have made some kind of survey and social asking about their needs. Then when meeting is comes, village assembly comes, we are trying to make a difference. So what was made decision by local governance and people together, and what was the real needs of these people to make some kind of analytic documents after them and evaluate. Also, we are trying to inform people online in campaignly with the local media in social media to increase their knowledge about the meetings, dates, and time, because unfortunately, this local governance is not sharing information before the meeting. They are not doing, and they are not using informational tools and ways to increase the knowledge of locals and attend. They can't bring attenders because they are not sharing information. We are doing this for increased participation on local level. After the monitor, when we end the monitoring, we are trying to make a small document about the field visits and sharing document officially, which means officially that shared with stakeholders like local municipalities, with the ministry which is responsible for this, and public defender, for example, and also with other donor organizations and central organizations who is interesting about these procedures and about interesting about the region. Putting this in agenda of local media, we are trying to make some contents to make more visible in media, and of course sharing on social media. So about the evaluation of program which was made in 2023, it was a huge monitoring field works. The topics was like this, that lack of awareness among the population, which about I said before, there was not, they are not trying to share information, and they are not using tools. They are only talking with their community or the people who knows them better, and that's why there is no enough attenders always. The time of village meeting and the location of village meeting. For example, in official documents and in the website, there's writing agenda before, which is official and has to be accessible for everyone. We see that there is the rated city center of village and the time, for example, 12 o'clock. But when we go on a field, there we saw that the meeting is end or meeting will start after 2 hours. So it was a huge problem because the official time of the village assembly is different, but they are implementing and doing in other time or place of village. And there was not enough women, youth, and PVD persons from village. For example, the documents and officially program asks to defend equality, like in gender, in the age, in everything. But we see the villages and the places. Village assemblies where, for example, attends 35 men and only 3 women. So there is a huge gap between gender, and it's not right, and it's not acceptable for the program on a central level, on the level of ministry. But local governance still continued on this style, and they did not ask about the help from local women, or they are not working with the active women to increase the knowledge and increase accessibility on information to bring attend the local women. Yeah. One of the big problems which we saw, it was meetings which was held near schools. We think that it's administrative resource using when municipality members and representatives came to the territory of school, and people who is working in the school, teachers came out and attending on a meeting. So this is the This shows how they are trying to increase attendance by the administrative resource, and it's not real. It's not the real attendance from the local people, because the people who works in the school, they are officials, and there is 35% every time, and they are inviting on them. And when it is on the territory of school, the other people who is in a home or who is a lives far from school, they are not coming, and they are not attending on the meeting. About the recommendations which we have shared many times with the local municipalities, by the official statements and by mails, by all type of informational sharing, this kind of how to say recommendations, but unfortunately they never trying to be in communication, and they are not trying to take this recommendation as a new tool and make better their visits, their assemblies. We recommend to the self-government of the municipality should ensure maximum citizen involvement in the general meetings of the settlement. For this purpose, the city hall can use the resources of the mayor's representative in the village more effectively on a door-to-door basis to ensure that the population is informed about the meeting through various information sources. There was many cases when we asked to the local people when there wasn't enough attenders. So why the people is not coming on this village assembly? Because it's important for you. It is officials. Here's decision makers. You can say about your needs and challenge. They said that they didn't know. They are only calling to 10-15% and say that you need to share this information with your relations, with your families, with your neighbors, and say them to come. But they are not doing by themselves. So officials must to do this, of invite the people door by door. We are also recommend that publish on two languages if there is living minority groups, because there's a huge language barrier problems in the municipalities, in the village. The third one is use all informational tools like journals, like papers and social media and etc. Also make some kind of strategy and plan how to work with the youth, people with disabilities and women, to involve them in these meetings and make more active and attending on these village assemblies. Also not offer them some kind of problem solvings, for example, onto topics like village road or lighters. Ask for the people, ask to the youth, women, all attenders what they want, what they need, then analyze and make decision together. Generally, the people from local municipality and representatives and decision makers, they are offering one thing from their side. They are not asking to the local people. And the recommendation was that they must to ask to all of them and decide together. Try to keep the time and the date on the village assemblies, which is official dates and websites, which is inputted in the website and agenda of municipality. And about the three cases, for example, in Marneoli, which is the hugest municipality, the mayor and the chairman of city council, they are never attending on the meetings, which is unfortunately the case. And the people is waiting for the real decision makers, but they are not coming, and it makes some kind of huge gap between population and local governance. From the Bolognese municipality, we can say that case they are very aggressive on the people from NGO and people who's critical, has a critical questions. But the case of the Manisa municipality was interesting because the mayor and chairman of city assembly was every time attending on the meetings, and after meetings they had an individual conversation with the attenders, with the women especially, and the youth. It was great to highlight. And also the work which we do in informing of local people, attending on the budget meetings, and trying to make human stories how the local youth is attending on these meetings or trying to advocate their needs with the petitions tools. And this is one of the hugest and largest tool of civic engagement which we are using in Georgia. It's very difficult to make village assembly by your initiative, not initiative of local governors, but time to time we are trying to keep engagement on the high level and taking this challenge and trying to keep village assemblies active. So thank you. I hope this information was interesting for you and usable for the next kind of chapters of citizen engagement. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Rabil, for such an interesting and insightful presentation. And I think now Visnik will continue from here. And I want to tell you something from technical side. When you have like 1 minute left, you will have like 15 minutes long presentation. I will just like use a smile of the clock and it will be shown on my picture. And that's how you can like guess that you will have 1 or 2 minutes left. And now, Visnik, floor is yours.
Thank you, Tangis. Thank you, Rabbi, also for your interesting presentation. It is really nice to be here today at this panel with all esteemed presenters and experts from local government and hearing these interesting and new models for approaching regarding the civic participation, but also the civic monitoring models from different countries, different uh, perspectives that besides having the opportunity to discuss, they will give also very good grounds and a path to also share different experiences and learn from each other. Uh, my name is Kisnik Shavani. I'm representing today the UNDP country office in North Macedonia as a project specialist, but also very much engaged in the local self-government interventions that we have in North Macedonia. The civic participation and inclusion in general, it's very much crucial for UNDP, the country office, in all of our program and projects that we are um, doing currently, but also in the past, we are taking into consideration very seriously and involving as much as we could, both as a transversal a team, but also very much focusing on working in specific projects that are enabling better grounds and better uh, improving the situation in overall in the country. We have different interventions and different projects that are dealing with this specific topic, and it will be also a great pleasure if there will be a possibility also to share today some of the key actions together with you. On the other hand, also North Macedonia, besides being a small country and in very much in a long transition process, in its democratization path, but also recently in the path of EU integration, I can share that uh, also the government and the local self-government in particular are embracing most of the initiatives that are being promoted, both by international donors and projects as it is with the case of North Macedonia, but also from local civil self-governments, because I consider the local civil self-government at national level, but also the donor actors are very important actor and with very important role uh, in promoting this uh, premises. So the topic is very interesting and it was interesting also to learn this specific platform that was presented by Rabin from the Georgia. Maybe it's not so nice to hear that the situation actually needs a lot of improvement, but we have all uh, to take into consideration also the specific local contexts that are present in each of the countries, and especially the recommendations that we will have to address to the authorities that are maybe firstly um, important and are the first point that needs to make a better promotion of these concepts. It is very important to address this uh, stage of scanning the situation that the organization or the platform that Robin was presenting is very important to know how to act in the future and to improve the situation. So uh, there were actually at the end of the presentation very good recommendations and insights that were provided by the platform. And I consider that in the future the platform maybe it is important to try and to scale a bit more the concept in and see the situation if there is any kind of differences or better or different situation in other communities, other municipalities that would have the chance maybe to be involved in the further process, and definitely it is a need for implementing all the specific measures that are important to local communities to be mobilized in the processes of local authorities, uh, involving them in different kind of tools that could be promoted. Maybe in this case, we could discuss a bit maybe about what are the plans of the platform for the future period, because one important point at this time is to have the situation scanned and know what are the needs and maybe the challenges that were present in these communities, and what is uh, the approach that both the platform can embrace in the next period to address more directly this kind of shortages or these weaknesses that maybe the government system at the local level it is having at the moment. Because as referring to maybe North Macedonia case in some previous years, before 10 or 20 years ago, we were very much facing this kind of situations or lack of capacities or political willingness to embrace civic engagement or civic monitoring processes within the local authorities, but with the time and with implementing different kind of measures and different projects at different levels and with different target groups, uh, uh, the, 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 the progress is evident right now with us, and we are actually in a phase where in the 20 years of history of democracy in North Macedonia, uh, we have not only one type of citizen engagement mechanisms that are being provided by the laws at national level, but also local authorities or municipalities are implementing different specific measures that were during the time of project implementation being promoted as positive practices, and in some years period they gave effect and they were embraced by them. So Rabin, uh, maybe we can discuss about this part now, and of course, other participants, any questions or specific comment that
Um,
would be.
Thank you, listening a lot. We have two questions in the chat for Rabil. There is one question coming from Yuri that, if I understood correctly, asks about the public budget hearings and to what extent municipalities conduct public budget hearings at the local level. And Yuri says that in many countries it's a weak spot of the participatory policies, and how the situation is in Georgia. This is the first question. And the second question comes from Glenn, and he asks about the functional operational environments in Georgia now for civil society organizations, taken into consideration the recent laws introduced by the government of Georgia, and if these laws have any effect on the civil society organizations like you in Georgia, and if they have any effect on the monitoring work of the civil society.
Okay, thank you for questions. First, about the budgeting. For example, in our case, from 2021 till 2024, until we were active, we input approximately more than 100 statements, petitions, budget initiatives, where we ask about with the local peoples to solve some local need or problem, and only 7% of these initiatives was approved in 3 years. So there is not so active attachment from the side of local authorities. But when we are trying to do our best and always trying to advocate on a civil society level, on a local level, on a central level, or trying to use on budget assemblies when they are meeting and attend on this meeting and again ask about these needs. But generally, from my point of view in Georgia, it's weak too. In the last 1 year, in the last 1 year, and with this I will put on the next question. The last 1 year in Georgia, we have very critical situation on a local and central level. There's a political crisis, and we have a rules like a Russian law. In the last 2 months, our governors take two new laws. They want to control grants for local civil societies, and they are doing everything to close organizations. And of course this will affect on the organization's work. For example, in 2024 we didn't work because we didn't have some kind of resource, and there wasn't safe to work in a local level, in a regional level, because of the relations from local authorities, from decision maker people who is on a level, and they officially they don't have a good relation with the NGOs and civil society. So now it will not it's impossible, it will not be possible to work and make some kind of monitoring on the programs or make some kind of advocacy campaign. Also, I would like to say that the last in 2024 there wasn't some kind of budget initiatives or petitions or some kind of local advocacy campaigns for village or regional increasement. Yeah, so it shows that now in Georgia everything is stopped. So we are in protest, and we have the hope that we will solve this problem in the next few months. They'll start again to advocate and monitoring budgeting and increasing civic engagement and participation on local and central level. Thank you.
Yuri and Glenn, thanks for your questions. Rabul, thank you a lot for the responses and for discussing the current situation and what civil society faces, unfortunately, in Georgia. And to keep up with the agenda of today's meeting, I think now we can move to the next presentation, the second presenter, Francesco Porcelli. Francesco, the floor is yours, and we are looking forward to hear more about open Civitas model from Italy.
Thank you very much. First of all, it's a real pleasure to be able to present at the Local Public Sector Alliance working group. Actually, this is the second time because last year we also had the chance to talk about the Italian system, and we already had some insight in this Open Civitas model, but today I would like to enter into some more details and especially to show you some results about a recent research paper that I did with some colleagues in the Warwick University about the impact of Open Civitas as a data disclosure program on the performance of local government. So there is this additional aspect. I will share the presentation, so let me know if you can see it. Okay, are you able to see my screen? Okay. So let me start from just some general aspects of the Italian system. As you know, the Italian system has a high degree of decentralization. We have three levels of governments, 20 regions, 8,000 municipalities that have a long tradition of fiscal autonomy, at least since 1992. They have some main expenditure responsibilities, as in many other countries, from social services, child care, local police, local transport, and so they are a key aspect in the provision of public service in Italy. Then in Italy we started with a large reform in the sector of in the structure of in the level of grants from central government to municipalities. We started it in 2009, and now we are in the middle of the transition period from the old system of based on historical grants to the new system based on formula grants, and we implemented a new equalization process. The first year of this implementation was 2015, after a few years of implementing the new system, and the end of the transitional period will be the 2013. So in 5 years' time will be finished this transition. And we are calculating the standard expenditure needs and the fiscal capacity for each local authorities. And then we are computing this difference between standard expenditure needs and fiscal capacity to get this fiscal gap that is the base for the evaluation of equalization grants. So on the side of this huge reform in the implementation of formula grant, the Italian government was also involved in measuring the performance of local authorities. All the data, the information that were collected to implement the new formula grant were also used to implement a new performance assessment model based on the evaluation of the expenditure gap, that is the difference between historical expenditure and the standard expenditure needs, and then the determination of an output gap, that is the difference between the historical level of outputs, the level of services that municipalities were producing, and the standard level of services. And so the idea was to produce this Open Civitas project that actually is a website that you can access freely. If you Google Open Civitas, you will find the Italian version, and then you can switch to the English one. This was a program that was started in July 2014 with a sort of as a sort of experiment, because it was quite new for Italy to have this comprehensive performance assessment similar to the one that we had in England, that was started 10 years before Open Civitas. And then after this, let's say, monitoring period, since 2015, Open Civitas became open to all citizens, and still it is now, after 10 years. There has been many improvement to this website, and now what we have, and it can be accessed to all citizens, is this simple, we think simple, but of course is for the normal citizen is not really simple, is a system of performance assessment based on these two measures, an expenditure gap and a service and an output gap. So we have data on the historical level of expenditure and historical level of outputs, then given to the whole model for evaluating equalization grants. We have the standard level for expenditure and for output, and then we compute these two gaps, the two differences. And then the performance score actually comes out from the combinations of these two gaps. To be more clear, the Open Civitas is providing a system that is also called a four-quadrant system, where on the x-axis we are plotting the difference between historical expenditure and standard. So on the right-hand side here, there are municipalities that spend more than the standard, and on the left side, municipalities that spend less than the standard. And on the y-axis, we are plotting the gap on the output. So here we have municipalities that produce more output than the standard, and on the bottom, we have municipalities that produce less output than the standard. And so we can separate municipalities in four groups. Here we have the high performance municipalities that produce more and spend less than the standard. Here the low performance that spend more and produce less. And then on the other two quadrants, municipalities that spend more but produce also more services. And here municipalities that spend less but also produce less services. If you go online, you can see for each Italian municipalities a graph like this. Here you have an example taken from waste management. This performance assessment based on this visualization of the position of municipalities is produced for each service. There is a global evaluation, but then you can find it for example, waste management, general administration, local police, social services, maintenance of public roads, and so forth. This is an example. Here, for example, you see Milan that is performing better than Rome and Naples, and so forth. Actually, here I put some slides on how Open Civitas is working, but I will leave to you the possibility, if you are interested in it, to go online and to see how you can navigate this website, and you can see how it works in measuring the performance. It is designed for normal citizens, but actually we have realized that this is a website that is more popular for researchers, for journalists, and so it is more is useful for, let's say, informed citizens, not just for the normal one. I can skip these slides given the time constraint. And I will go to the second question about the impact of Open Civitas. We know that data disclosure is a growing phenomena all around the world, not just in developed countries, but also in developing countries. The number of the open data initiative is growing exponentially all over the world. And clearly, by improving the information about government activity, the idea in the fiscal federalism theory is to stimulate the local government accountability. And so data disclosure should improve fiscal decision and finally the efficiency of service provision through let's say the incentive of being re-elected for those local politicians that have a good performance. This is the idea. But of course, the principal agent theory that is behind this general mechanism is providing a warning. And the warning is that you should provide a comprehensive assessment, because otherwise you can produce some targeting. So local authorities and municipalities may focus only on what is published, and this will not provide a clear increase in performance. And this is actually what we saw also in Open Civitas. This is the paper on which from which I'm taking these first results. It's still a working paper. We are in the process of publishing it. It is written with colleagues in the Warwick University, and is actually providing an assessing exercise of the impact of Open Civitas. We are computing what we call an extensive margin exercise, which is actually a difference in difference model, where we are comparing the performance of municipalities for which we implemented in Italy Open Civitas, and those for which instead Open Civitas was not implemented, because municipalities in special regions, for example, Sicily, Sardinia, or some regions in the north, because of their special statute, the special autonomy, they didn't implement it Open Civitas, because the management of local finance was the responsibility of the region, not the responsibility of the central government. And so this is providing a good setup for a control group and a treatment group. The treatment group was the municipalities that implemented this data disclosure program, and the control group, those that did not implement it. And so we are monitoring in this empirical exercise the impact of Open Civitas on expenditure per capita, and one of the major indicator of output, the percentage of waste recycled, that was the main measure of output, because like 25% of local expenditure in municipalities was in this sector, in waste recycled. And this is the idea. We took municipalities here in the north, on the border between Lombardy and Trentino Alto Adige, and Veneto and Friuli Venezia Giulia. In Lombardy and in Veneto, we had municipalities that were involved in the Open Civitas program. Instead, in Trentino and Friuli Venezia Giulia, they were not involved. So we took these municipalities on the border, and we were comparing the impact of Open Civitas. Municipalities here were in the control group in Trentino Alto Adige, and municipalities here were the treatment group, and similarly for Veneto. I will show you some results. For example, for municipalities in Veneto, we saw a clear drop in expenditure, but especially in the first year of implementation of Open Civitas, 2014 and 2015. Instead, in Lombardia, we saw a more persistent impact of Open Civitas. So it was more or less effective in reducing actually expenditure. In terms of the impact on output, especially for municipalities in Lombardy, we saw a positive impact of OpenCivita. So after the implementation of data disclosure, and actually the data disclosure for output started in 2016. And so after the disclosure of data on output, we saw a clear improve in the waste recycling, especially in Lombardy. We don't see anything in Veneto because municipalities in Veneto were already the top performer in terms of waste recycling in Italy. So just to conclude, we have this program that now has been implemented for 10 years since 2015 in Italy, this OpenCivitas data disclosure program. And actually, the first assessment of its impact on municipal performance is quite positive in terms of expenditure. Municipalities in this program are spending less, and also in terms of output, they are producing more. So this is a good sign for, let's say, the implementation of this policy. That just to conclude was also identified by the G reform by the European Commission as a good practice for, let's say, the implementations of decentralization in, let's say, in different systems. Thank you very much.
Francesco, thanks a lot. I love the platform. I have not heard about it, but I say that it would perfectly work in Georgian context as well if we don't have the current situation in the country. But when the situation allows, I think that will be a great tool for our municipalities to test to ensure their accountability as well. Dear participants, if you have any questions, you can ask in the chat. And now, Fisnik, the floor is yours to have some comments about Francesco's presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Francesco. Really quite inspiring mechanism or platform that were presented by your side, especially because it is treating the direct transparency and what is quite important, the fiscal transparency of local authorities throughout Italy, and it is done through an online platform that it is really easy, accessible, and keeping in mind that also you're trying to uh, uh, treat the data and also making them available and user friendly for the citizens. It is quite important. And the other hand, that was mentioned also, and it is really important because there is a quite large set of data for different sectors and different kind of expenditures, which is important to also making this kind of uh, comparison between the municipalities and somehow, besides helping the citizens and researchers and the media to know the financial situation of the specific municipality, also they are enabling them to make a comparison between themselves and maybe somehow also inspiring to get better on some areas that maybe before they weren't so aware about this, and it is a clear evidence that it helped also to changing or shifting the focus of some municipalities throughout the country. It is important to keep in mind when having this kind of very vast, detailed, but tools or electronic platforms with huge content behind. And in terms of the civic engagement aspect, or the civic monitoring aspect, it is important to keep in mind to have these kind of platforms as much as possible in a reader-friendly or user-friendly a format in order to give them opportunity to easily understand the results or the indicators that are being presented. And I see myself as a very good uh, based on information for the academia and the civil society sector as a professional, because if they are more economic uh, or financially prepared, they can also extract many kind of data, work on them, and make different kind of inputs or give specific recommendations for the local authorities in the future how to get improved in some initiatives. Uh, I just wanted to specify this because I think it is important and how the digital world is uh, evolving or it is actually revolutionizing at this time of period. I think that this kind of platforms of electronic mechanisms can be very fast and easy replicated and used by the different communities, different governments or local communities, maybe with a small, let's say, uh, uh, adaptation or uh, making function for the specific local context that is it is necessary. I just would like to know on the part of how the platform is being fed with all the data, who is behind this actually vast process of feeding the platform and after that extracting all the details, because sometimes we know that if it is national legislative or local legislative, that can be done by the local authorities themselves. And sometimes for some platforms, it is up to them to decide on whether to share at all information and data to feed the system, or whether they share partially this kind of information, or which is also very important to share details and data in a unified or systematic and continuous uh, uh, way. So, how it is the situation at the moment of 12 years in Italy with the Open Civic model platform?
Okay, dear Francesco, you can start responding to Fisnik's question, and there's also another question in the chat.
Yes, I saw it in the chat. Yes, thank you very much for the comments. Just two words. First of all, the main elements is the civic participation, so that we tried to stimulate, and it's not very easy to do, even if the model can appear to be simple to the practitioners or to researchers. It's still very complicated for the normal citizens, and this is the main challenge at the moment. Actually, it is implemented by the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Economy of Finance in Italy, with the support of other private companies that elaborate the data. And all the information are taken from the questionnaires that are sent to local administrators, to municipalities, to get data for fiscal equalization. So the data that we take for fiscal equalization that are, let's say, reused for this performance assessment. So there is this double use of all this flow of information, financial information, structural informations, and still, as I said, we are at this is the 11th year now that we are collecting this information. And this is also the crucial aspect, to have enough information to make this system work. We have tried to export, let's say, this model, for example, in Lithuania, with the support of the DG reform, and they implemented it for their municipalities. Of course, they have 60 municipalities. Is a small country compared to Italy, but it was working quite well. And also recently, we have discussed this model in Hungary, where we with the Council of Europe in a joint project with the Council of Europe. And also there, even if we had just a pilot, we saw that it could be used to monitor performance. So it can be used also in small countries, but provided that you have a good flow of information already implemented in your system, or that should be implemented to some questionnaire.
Thank you.
And there's another question by Glenn. If there are any differences between rural and urban municipalities, south, west.
Yes, there are huge differences. Actually, as we usually have in Italy, there is a geographical divide between the north and the south that is clearly still evident. The north is on average more efficient, is performing better than the south, with some exceptions, of course. And still there is a divide between urban area and rural area. The urban area are on average performing better than the rural one. So we see this divide actually.
And there is one more question in the chat. Whether the local council representatives actually use this data to represent citizens' needs, or to, I don't know, for the oversight, budgeting. Did you check or research any of these developments?
Yes, actually, there is evidence that the system is used from local administrators, but still here we have some differences between the north and the south. Municipalities in the north, for example, in Veneto or in Lombardy, are using more this data to do comparison with their neighbors. Instead, in the south is less used. We think that there is also some aspect related to what we call the social capital that can be linked to these differences. And similarly, there is the difference in the civic engagement, actually. And this is, as I said, a crucial aspect. This system is working as long as citizens, or at least a group of citizens, the informed one, are using it. Otherwise, the mechanism of local of electoral accountability will not work actually.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much,
Dr. Francesco. And now we need to move to the third and final speaker, Cherkin Berisha, who will present on the impact of civil society in enhancing policymaking in Kosovo. And after his presentation, we can also accept questions not regarding only his presentation, but the other presentations as well, if there are any. Please, floor is yours, dear Cherkin.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will, it will take just 1 second to share my presentation before I start. Okay, the topic I have, first of all, let me present myself. My name is Cherkin Berisha. I'm working at the University of Pristina Faculty of Law. But at the same time, I work as a freelance consultant in different projects, mostly funded by donors like European Commission, USAID, before until now, and other donors in Kosovo. So I've been working quite a lot on issues related to civil society engagement in policy making and legislation in Kosovo, including supporting the government to establish government and Office of Prime Minister to establish the platform on public consultation, but as well we have been supporting legal framework and mechanisms on local level as well. So just to have a short introduction on the situation with civil society in Kosovo, it is crucial to mention that civil society has become a key actor in democratic governance, especially in policy making and legislation in the last decade. Of course, due to increased capacities of civil society organizations, mostly as a result of donor funding in the period of post 1999 war in Kosovo. So civil society has had and continues to have a influential impact on content of different policies and legislation in central level and local level as well. Of course, because central level government was more organized in terms of offering the possibility for civil society organizations in drafting, providing comments in the process of drafting legislation. I think the process has been more advanced in the central level, but in the recent years, this process has been improved at the local level as well. I have already done several papers on the topic, and the most recent one, which is going to be published this year as a chapter in a book together with some of my colleagues from Europe, is related to the impact of civil society in drafting legislation. I mean, impact on the content of the legislation. And the previous one that I have already published is related to mechanisms and tools on public consultation in Kosovo, and what should be improved in order for civil society to be better heard and to improve the process of policy making in Kosovo. I will start with the part of current tools that civil society can use in process of drafting policies and legislation. So mainly they can participate directly in working groups, which it happens quite a lot in the central level. And it is increasing at the municipal level as well, because municipalities have as well the right to issue regulations due to their competencies which are based on legislation regulating local governments. So for all those competencies which are at the municipal level, municipalities are those who prepare legislation or decisions, I mean bylaws, and most of them seems to be consulted through the government portal, in which municipalities participate as well. And with regard to the central level, there is a dedicated public consultation platform which provides the opportunity for civil society organizations, but as well for the public, for the citizens, to directly to directly submit comments in any piece of legislation or policies which is in the process of drafting. Of course, they can provide legal opinions, they can provide analysis and advocacy reports on different topics, of course, of their interest and of their profile. And when I'm discussing about the profile, until recent years, we have had challenges, I think, with regard to profilization of non-governmental associations because they were donor-oriented profile. However, we have some very strong civil society organizations that are focused on policies and legislation, and they are very active on providing comments and opinions on different pieces of legislation and policies. They provide also or support or try to influence the policies and legislation through media campaigns and public roundtables, MOUs with institutions, in which they formalize the engagement, and the participation in the government, in the Council for Cooperation with Government Council for Cooperation with Civil Society, which is composed by half by members of civil society and half by members of the government, with the purpose of implementing government strategy for cooperation with civil society. Of course, the role of civil society in the local level should be seen as well within this government strategy for cooperation with civil society. The strategy has been built on 4 pillars, which includes public consultation, participation of civil society on policies and legislation. The second one has been focused on the public funding for NGOs. The other one was related to sorry. Do you see the change of slides? Because it is blocked in my computer. Can you see the change of slides or no?
Now we see the tools and mechanisms of engagement.
Yes.
Okay, because I was trying to change, but it was blocked. I don't know why. Probably internet connection. Okay, then the fourth pillar of the strategy was focused on voluntarism and the engagement of civil society and so forth. So there are different tools and mechanisms, but the government in the central level and the Ministry of Local Government for the municipalities have been working in the recent years to improve the online public consultation, so everyone could have access to policies and legislation and provide directly through the platform their comments and analysis and any kind of suggestions that they have regarding policies and legislation. Every institution, meaning ministries, other independent institutions, and municipalities are obliged to do public consultation. So legal framework has already been established and require clear criteria regarding public consultation. How deep the consultation is regarding the content and how the comments and proposals of civil society are taken into consideration, this is another issue. However, in terms of having legal framework and mechanism to organize public consultation in central level and local level, I can say that it is already in place and it is functioning. So when an institution starts the process of drafting a legislation or key policies, they're obliged to publish it, every piece of legislation, draft legislation in the platform, together with a consultation document requiring inputs from civil society and the public, and with some brief explanations what is expected and what are the key issues that they would like to have the comments or suggestions from civil society. Does it happen? Well, the question whether do civil society organizations and public submit comments to all drafts of laws or bylaws or policies or not, there is another question. It happens that to those policies and legislation that impact most of the public or civil society or are, how to say, important at the moment, more comments are received, while for other pieces of legislation, especially for those that civil society and public does not have expertise, less comments and proposals are received. However, you can see from the platform and from the reports that each institution is obliged to prepare at the end of the public consultation period how many comments have been received and have they been taken into consideration or not. And here, when it comes to the facts, why, for example, in some cases the contribution of civil society is not evident, or why it was not taken into consideration, there are different reasons, but according to civil society organizations, it happens that institutions in most of cases start public consultation or engagement of civil society or public at a late stage, meaning after the draft has already been prepared, not at the initiation period. So sometimes it's very difficult for civil society organizations to provide comments, for example, within 15 working days from the day when the draft law has been published or a different policy has been, draft of the policy has been published in the platform. Therefore, civil society organizations prefer that they are directly engaged through the working groups or direct meetings with institutions. Therefore, their impact is it's more powerful, and therefore they can provide the expertise in the entire process of drafting rather than doing it at the end of the process. So in the recent years, we have seen shape toward this direction, and we see that due to the increase of expertise in the civil society sector, they participate more in the working groups, of course, if they are invited, because in most of cases, institutions establish working groups or appoint officials who are responsible for the preparation of the draft without any inclusion of civil society organizations. But in those sectors that government wants to have impact in the process of policy making and legislative making, they include, and they most of ministries at the central level do, and it is happening in the local level as well. And it was a practice of openness by government institutions and municipalities, because in that way they argue that civil society has been included in the process of preparation of policies and legislation, and in front of citizens they are stronger. Of course, civil society, it's not having impact in every policy and legislation. It happens that, as I will show in some of the examples in the coming slides, although they have provided comments and comments have been good, for example, it happened that the institutions have not taken into account these comments, of course, due to political reasons, or it was not, for example, the priority of the government to go in a specific direction with regard to specific policies. For example, I will mention.
Cherkin, sorry for interrupting, but I have to be the official timekeeper here. You have 2 minutes left. Yeah.
Okay.
1 minute.
I'll try to conclude quickly.
Okay.
So
thank you.
In case of law and freedom of association and legal framework on regulating civil society environment, civil society organizations have been really active and they had real impact. And it happened that some of the laws, even though were approved in the parliament, due to the pressure of the civil society, they were not promulgated by the president, and they were returned to the parliament. So I'm just mentioning some of the cases. In all cases, like public funding of NGOs, civil society organizations participated widely, and as a result, I think we have one of the really good systems on public funding of NGOs in terms of transparency, accountability, and criteria. Therefore, their inputs have been really good and evaluated by government as well. The same happened in the process of drafting civil code, where civil society actively participated, not just because civil society wanted to participate, but the government at in this case was interested to get the opinion of civil society, because it was really sensitive issues there, like issues related to same-sex marriages and family issues. Therefore, a lot of comments from civil society were taken into consideration. The current draft of civil code is based as well on proposals from civil society. As a conclusion, I would say that civil society has been contributing to policies and legislation, and most of policies and laws adopted and bylaws have been more aligned with EU standards. More responsiveness from the public sector is happening as a result of pressure from civil society, and culture of participation has been built. Of course, it needs to be developed further, and the civil society should be taken seriously in all processes of public consultation of legislation and policies, because in many cases it happens that it is not happening so. What we have seen as a challenge is superficial consultations. I mean, consultation just to say we consulted civil society. Sometimes political resistance on monitoring and criticism. Funding dependency on donors, which is currently the situation, and limited capacity in smaller civil society organizations. I would conclude by this, and if you have questions or comments, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Dear Cherkin, thanks a lot. And now, Tisnik, floor is yours.
Thank you. Regarding the agenda, I would be also. I will try to be short. Besides being very interesting topic, this one presented by Cherkin, Actually, it is quite exciting and nice to hear that the CSO sector, the civil society organizations in Kosovo are becoming one of the main actors in the area of democratic governance, if may say like that. And they are actually holding, as per the data provided today in the presentation, a very important integrator role between the government in Kosovo and the civil society um, as a sector organization, but also the citizens. And also, it's very nice to hear that they are very much involved and actively are facilitating the policy making process and even legislation that is very quite impressive. Ever-growing CSO sector, both in quantity and equality, it's always a good asset to have in the countries. And because a great number of civil society organizations and different expertise of them enables us to have a different focus and treat different areas of intervention. Besides being that successful, maybe it is important to hear by Cherkin on eventual challenge that he was lastly mentioning, for example, the dependency on the donor funding, maybe even also the areas of expertise that the civil society organizations are needing or their capacity building um, uh, needs in order, and also very much important how they are ensuring the sustainability of the actions or different interventions that are currently implementing, and how they are becoming sure that in the future the institutions are embracing the results that are producing from this kind of interventions.
Thank you, Fisnik. Well, there are many cases, especially in the process of drafting legislation, that NGOs have provided really deep analysis, suggesting to the government to go in a specific direction. Like, for example, it is a current ongoing issue, the issue of vetting in the justice sector in Kosovo. And if you see some of the most active NGOs in Kosovo provided really good feedback in the process on the process of vetting. But if you see the reports from the public consultation, you will see that the comments were just ignored. So they were not taken into consideration, and no clear reasoning behind the reason why they were not taken into consideration is provided in the consultation report. On your second question, whether the funding is sustainable, well, in the recent years, especially in the last 3-4 years, the funding from European Commission and USAID has been decreased as a result of political issues, within the Kosovo or internationally. However, I could say that the government is providing some support, which is like 30% of entire funding for NGOs is coming from line ministries and municipal level. So if you see the public funding platform, because the government has established a public funding platform in which all institutions, I mean budget organizations, are obliged to publish all funds that they have provided to civil society and for what kind of projects and activities they have funded. So you will see that a lot of funding is coming from the government, and this mechanism of cooperation between civil society and the government has been crucial, like this Council for Cooperation between Civil Society and the government, and the strategy for cooperation, because some of the key objectives have been set there, and the institutions have tried to be in line with what they have included in the strategic documents. And the third, I forgot what you mentioned as a third issue. So this was all the questions, or did you have another question?
No questions
Oh,
allowed.
sorry,
No.
that was in general, Cherkin. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot, Cherkin. And I also want to say thank you to all our distinguished speakers and to all the participants who joined to our today's session. And now I do want to ask Gabor to close our meeting and also announce the topic for our group's next session.
Yes, thank you. I also wanted just to really say I appreciate your inputs. As I said at the beginning, they were very different in terms of, very hands-on work in Georgia, working with data in Italy, and the formulation of policy and legislative changes in Kosovo. And I can say that really in this period, these are NGOs, but I look at, for example, in Kosovo, more like think tanks who can really contribute to the policy formulation in the country. As you can see in the chat, Marina put there the next topic of the webinars, but it will be November. So in between June and November, if you want to contact our speakers today, if you want to broaden the network by contributing with your inputs like blogs, questions, just use this network. So LPSA is a network. What you use, what you can use for research projects, for partner search, for any other activities. So that's what I would encourage you to do. You can always reach us through some channels. I wanted to say again, thank you. And because we have Jamie Boyks, our executive director, here with us from the US. Jamie, if you want to share any news about the alliance, is there anything what is expected in this coming months? Please do. Okay, if not, then officially we close this webinar and thank you again. So let's continue the communication and we meet. Oh, Jamie is here. Good. So Jamie, please.
Thanks so much. I'm having some technological issues, but just wanted to thank everyone for today's meeting and fantastic presentations. And I'm here as a member, not as the executive director. I've learned a lot. So I just wanted to thank the panel. That's all. Thanks, Amor.
Thank you. So goodbye.
Thanks a lot. Goodbye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thanks.
Goodbye.